pretty taco crazy here, and I was gonna try some of this taco sauce that they have and see what they like. This is the dude that was behind Jimbo's, I'm assuming, is saying 1954. All right, I picked up a little snack while waiting on my Jim Boy tacos that was established in 1954 in Lake Tahoe. And then I'm gonna drop those Jim Boy tacos off at your doorstep. Let's see if I can reach it from here. It might can, let me see. It has a really good ears. Trunk open. Wow, it's pretty good. All right, Jimbo tacos. We're gonna drop off your Jimbo tacos at 9. Okay, we're having like an issue right now. I haven't really eaten anything, but we're gonna get it right for all the people that are full and have food in their bellies, and all the people that are hungry and they don't have food in their bellies. Because there's people out there that eat, and there's people out there that starve. Unfortunately, it does happen. People do starve. It's not good. I'm gonna try it again. We'll be there in 9 miles. There we go. It'll be 14 minutes, the duration. We'll arrive at 7:51 in the PM, as in post-meridium, okay? So we are well aware in life today that there are people that are full all the time and never miss a meal. My father's never missed a meal. My father was born with polio. He was born with polio. He's a polio survivor, and he never missed a meal. His parents made sure that he never missed a meal because the polio would kill him if he did. So my father has never missed a meal. And that's good. That's a good thing. But there are people out there that don't get to eat all the time. And we're aware of that. And the New Liberty Party is going to make all of that go away. And the New Liberty Party, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to talk to my father, and I'm going to look him right in the face, and I'm going to say, Dad, everyone has the right to eat. That's what I'm going to tell him. I'm going to say, Father, everyone in our country has the right to eat food whenever they're hungry or full. It doesn't matter. They have the right to eat food. And I'm going to see what he says. See if it focuses. This is nice little dog. Anyway, in banking, since I've been a banker, we would open accounts, and Chase, I didn't work for Chase, I applied to work at Chase. Chase Bank, Chase Pruitt, or whatever their name is, Chase, it has so many names. All these banks have more than one name, but Chase is a name of a bank. And I applied to Chase, to work for Chase. I also applied to Wells Fargo, but it was indirectly. It wasn't like I didn't sit down and go to an interview with Wells Fargo. So I did not sit down with a Wells Fargo person and try to get a job with Wells Fargo. But I did do that with Chase Bank, and I did work for a bank. So I am a banker, or an ex-banker. I'm a former banker, former personal banker. So when we worked at the bank, I worked for First Convenience. It's also known as First National Bank, Texas. But when I worked for them, they learned from another bank called Chase. JP Morgan. I think it's called JP Morgan. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's JP Morgan Chase. They did a thing called Bob, B-O-B. When you would open an account, you would use basically like a piece of paper. And you'd make 4 corners, making like a cross in the middle of the paper. So this section of the paper, which would be sectioned off, would represent something. This section would represent something. This section would represent something. And that section would represent something. Okay, so they'd all represent something about the client or the person that wanted to open the account. Now, Bob probably stood for bank. It's been 4 years. More than that. Let's see, it's 2017, maybe going into 18. Roughly, let's say 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 5 years. It's been 5 years. Bob probably stood for bank. O probably stood for either occupation or maybe online or something. And then the other B probably stood for business because we wanted to ask the customers certain questions. And this was we were taking the ideas from another bank, which was like Chase. JP Morgan did it. We found out that you can't find it on Google. I looked it up. Like when a banker opens up, now it may be on there, it may be public domain, but you'd have to search for it to find out this technique. So the bank would know more about their account holders, as in what bank did you use before? What's your occupation? What do you do for a living? You know? Is this for business or personal? Is this a personal account or will this be a business account? And then, you know, you in each section you would write down, okay, well, they were with Bank of America. Bank of America, great. They've got $1 trillion revenue. Bank of America, they're with Bank of America, wonderful. Because we were what's known as a second chance bank. We were a bank, and they've been around since like 1901. We were a bank that were there for if you had trouble in banking, you could come to us and we'd help you out. Or you could just use us for whatever you want. You get it? So we would find out what kind of bank you had or wanted to use. That's the first thing we would do. The second thing we would do is we would want to know why you were using a bank. What do you do for a living? A telemarketer. Oh, you're a telemarketer. That's great. And what do you do for a living? I'll work for YouTube. Okay, you work for YouTube. What do you do for YouTube? I'm a content creator and they pay me money. Really? Put that down. They work for YouTube. They're a content creator, right? They create content online on a thing called YouTube or whatever it is. Really, content has no art, but art has no content. Who knows? Then you find out their business, I guess, or I don't know what the other B stood for. It's always was weird with me. I have to go back into my notes and find out what B-O-B, as in Bob, what it stood for. But Chase used it, and so did First Convenience Bank. And then once we developed that, we started to open the account, and we turned that Bob in with our account to show why the person was using that particular account or what their interest was in our bank, so that we could open their account with validity, so that it would be an account that was worthwhile, and it wasn't what we called a Terra. All right, where we had to call them back. I think that they spelled it T-A-R-A or something like that, or T-E-R-A. But if it was a Terra account, then it means that account was in trouble. We had to call them back and say, well, why did you open the account in the first place? We didn't say them that, we weren't that mean. But we would say, well, we noticed that you're not using the account. And we have a thing now, what they have now on the power accounts is you have to swipe your debit card or your basically your card that's connected to your account at least 12 times is what they're doing right now, which is a lot. That's a lot. It's a tremendous amount. It used to be 8 times. 8's quite a bit too. So by the time you swipe it 8 times, there was no maintenance charge at all. You could like buy an apple, or you go buy some candy, right? then it cleared it. So it was completely cleared at that point, meaning you didn't have to worry about a maintenance charge. Looks like we got some activity going down this way on Camp Bowie. Camp Bowie is like heavily crime-ridden at times. So what it means is that you could use your debit card point of sale 8 times, swiping the card, and you would be good to go for the maintenance. You wouldn't have to pay for the account at all. Almost, we wouldn't say free. We never used the word free because free would get us in trouble. There's no such thing as a free account, but it was a way of avoiding the maintenance fee. And all those things were there. Now, O probably stood for overdraft. Ding, 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 ding. So when we looked at it, we looked at the bank that they were using. Then we looked at if they were going to overdraft the account or have overdraft protection. That's probably what that O stood for. So it was either they're going to overdraft the account, meaning they would have overdraft protection, and we explained the processes of overdraft. So if you overdraft the account, then you owe money because you get a $35 overdraft fee or a certain amount. It could be $34, it could change. So if you overdraft it 5 times, then they'd hit you 5 different times, and that account would really go way into the negative. It'd go into the red, and you could lose that account. Or you could go no overdraft, right? Where you couldn't overdraft it at all. And that's what the O could have stood for as well. And I think the B might have stood for business or something like that. It's interesting, though, because we had to be clear with the customer. We had to be very clear. Do you want overdraft? Or do you want no overdraft? Then they eventually, before I left, I think it was about maybe a year or so, that they had this other thing called an E account, where there was no way you could overdraft the account. And you could only use the account online only. That's what they called it, an E account. Why they called it an E account, I'm not real familiar, but that's what they called it. That account, I think, will also, why it was called an E account is because you could not have checks on that account. So if you wrote a check on that account, you couldn't even have a check on that account. So it would be like online use only or something similar. I think it was called an E account. And it was usually used for online purchases or something like that. And there was no checkbook or something like that would come with it. I think that's why it was called an E account. And there's no way to overdraft. You could never overdraft on it. And I don't know for sure about the card that was connected to the account. I'd have to check on that. But I do know that it was like an electronic account or something like that, or an online account. It was very kind of weird. And not many people would ever really sell it, and not many people would ever really get it. But it prevented them from overdrafting ever, or preventing any checks from hitting their account ever. It's a very weird account. It was a strange little bank, you know. I always thought it was run by vampires. All right, Salsa Limon. We are on our way. We'll be there at 4.5 miles. It'll take 8 minutes to get there. And our arrival time, 8:15 in the PM, as in post-meridian. The only thing I've had to eat today was a hot sauce packet. Let me just put it this way. Banking is highly stressful. I've waited tables before, and waiting tables is stressful because you're in charge and you'll be held accountable for their food, right? So like, you want me to eat this? You know, imagine if you were waiting tables and that person just handed you their wallet, all their account information, all their money, their ID, their social security, and everything that you need to open a bank account. And then you're also in charge of the food. In our case, it wasn't, but that'd be funny, you know. Come to our bank and restaurant. But imagine it, because we did do food promos. So you go and get a hot dog and then you sit down and open an account. We made hot dogs for people out in front of the bank. We really did. You'd come by our bank and you'd smell hot dogs. And then you'd come in and sit down. We're a military bank, you know. Kind of like the soldiers that would go over there in Afghan and start frying up the hot dogs on their grills. And they go play like volleyball like Tom Cruise and Top Gun. But we would do it, and they would come to the bank, and then they would open an account. They'd sit down and open an account, you know, and they'd eat their hot dog, whatever. But imagine if you're a waiter, and they go, well, yeah, go ahead and get my food. By the way, here's my wallet with all my private information. Here's my license. Here's my social. And don't lose it. And bring me back my food. You know, you'd probably be a very scared waiter or very nervous waiter. You know, Steve Martin plays the absent-minded waiter, you know, where he's like, whoa, we're okay. He doesn't remember anything. He's like, ignorance is bliss. So he tries to pour, you know, the water onto the table, or he pours the water on the table and there's no glasses because he's absent-minded. He doesn't even know that there's cups or glasses there to hold the water, you know. Well, anyway, you can't really be that way when you're a banker. You'd need a lot of cheat sheets, which they allowed cheat sheets. We would have to read this thing about overdrafts to them from the top to the bottom very quickly to make sure that they knew everything that was going on. Then they signed the little thing and then opened the account. But you don't have to go through all that as a waiter. But it is nerve-wracking to be in charge of someone's food, you know, because you can get fired right on the spot, you know. Not if they found a hair. If they found a hair in the food, it's not always a fireable offense. It could be, depending on how you respond to that hair, you know. Well, it's not my hair. That's what they always do. Like, look at the color of my hair. It's not in your food. Look, my hair is blonde with orange tips. That hair is black. That came from a Sicilian. You know, and that wouldn't make them happy either. Then you get fired for being a racist. You get fired for your hair follicle falling off of your head onto their food. Blah, 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 blah. And being absent-minded in the fact that you don't remember their names because you've taken care of 100 other people at your table when you're waiting tables, you know. Probably waiting tables might be a little more stressful. You know, jobs are stressful, you know. But there's one thing I know I would never do. I wouldn't be a cop. I would not be a police officer. Because I'm 100% sure that I would shoot somebody. That's why. 100% sure. If I wasn't 100% sure, then I may have tried out the profession. Because my friend Foster, he wanted to be a cop. He wanted to be a police officer. But I'm 100% sure I'd shoot somebody. I'm just sure I would. I know the type of person I am. I would shoot somebody. And you know those guys that are on trial, one for choking George Floyd, he probably didn't mean to do that. That police officer probably did not mean to kill George Floyd. He probably seriously thought he was just pinning him down and calming him down so he could put him back in his car without him making a single sound. Right? He wanted to make sure George Floyd didn't make a single sound in the back of his car, or lots of Zoloft and lots of Prozac for the rest of his life, right? And lithium, right? So he won't make a single sound.
Police reported ahead.
A single sound. Imagine if George Floyd went without making a single sound for his entire life. Never uttered a word. Didn't breathe too loud. Didn't whistle through his nose when he breathed. Didn't go, what's going on? Didn't do anything wrong. Imagine if he was a perfect person his entire life. And then finally, when he gets arrested for having a fake $20 bill that he probably didn't even know was fake, because most of the time they don't even know. Imagine if he didn't make a single sound. A single sound. Didn't even breathe too hard. Imagine that. Just imagine it in your head. And they threw him down on the ground, put their knee to his back, because we're going to kill you. Put his knee to his back. and prevented him from taking an air. Dog night out. Dog night out. Dog night out. Men too, baby. Men too. We're approaching Salsa Limon. Salsa Limon. Which, it sounds like salsa lemon. Oh, they got their truck out. Really good tacos. Best in town. And we're gonna pick up your tacos. And then, that's right, Waze. That's right. You like to talk. Then, we're gonna drop them off at your doorstep. Yeah, they wanted me to be a mime so I'd shut up. But I said, you know what? I'll take your mime classes. I'll take your mime classes as long as you let me talk. We'll be there in just a minute. Remember, you cannot kill your enemy with hatred. You have to have love. So I have to learn in my heart to be kind to my enemy, to somehow show respect to them. Somehow. Hello. Thank you so much. God bless. In the Bible, it says that you don't eat with your enemy. That's what it says in the Bible. That you're not to eat with your enemy. But if you're forced to do it, they'll know by the way that you chew. They'll figure it out. I think it was a bike thing. So, I have eating habits, but I've chained them. I haven't changed. I know I have. I've changed my eating habits. So we're going with this instead. And we got some of these olives right here. Got it all from Albertsons. And a fork with a little plastic thing on it, which I like. Eating is a representation of the feast in heaven. If you like to watch me eat, that probably means you're going to heaven. Because why would you hate to watch someone eat? You ever thought about that? Why would you hate to watch someone eat? Have you ever thought about it? Ask yourself that question. This right here has these things right here. See it? It's a Cobb salad with chicken and bacon. Why? Why would you hate to watch somebody eat? It comes with a fork. Let's see about the calorie count. Okay, crisp romaine lettuce, hard cooked egg, grilled white chicken meat, and bacon. It's blue cheese and dressing. No calorie count. I do count calories though. I count my calories every day, so I don't know about the dressing. I'm not using all the dressing. I'm using it sparingly. That's for the Shimmy that's starving in his car. And they will. It'll get worse and worse if you're an officer before dog night out. If you're getting real hungry, then you know it's gonna get bad. So prepare. I'm just trying to help because my best friend was basically a police officer. Now, this is 320 calories right here. So we're gonna put some of this onto that right there. We're also gonna use some of the oil on it. So it's basically right here. It's got feta in it. We can have that for a snack later. Because before the enemy kills you, he wants you to be very hungry. You ever seen Bastard Sword? See if you can get a hold of it. The guy that they killed, that chopped his head off, he was starving. But he was also on what's called morphine or opium to calm him down. This is what you don't want me to have. And it's called beef. You don't want me to eat that. I'm a father of 3. We know that that's 320, so we'll count at 300. The guy over there that's walking his dog, see him? When I eat this, he'll walk away. Watch. I've studied this stuff in nature. This is 100 calories. This has a topping of 320. If I ate all the olives, I ate half of them, but I'm gonna count it as 320 anyway, and 100. So that's about 400 with the bacon, about 430. Generation X, numbers are everything in Generation X. That's why they talk about marijuana as 420. They use numbers. The boomers used words, almost always, and symbolism. We don't use neither. We use numbers. Everything we do in numbers. We measure things in numbers. And that would be Generation X. True story. Ask yourself, why would you hate to watch somebody eat food if they're hungry? Because it represents what you're going to watch in hell for what you did to me for all of eternity, begging for a drop of water if you don't ask Jesus Christ in your heart. And do God's will. Because every day when I wake up, you begin to tremble when my feet hit the ground, and I ask God for his will to be done and his kingdom to come. Amen. Hallelujah. I have David, Elizabeth, and Gwendolyn as proof of my generation to come, to stomp you out, to prevent you from living. That's why I had those children. If I wanted you to live, I wouldn't have had my children. But I have to learn to let you live. I have to allow you to live, and I have to forgive you. So enjoy. Enjoy the breath that you get to take right now. I can promise you this. You're not always going to be able to take that breath. None of us are. I'm going to put it down for about 500 calories. Another thing too, do me a favor. Enjoy the beer that you gargle down, because one of these days, you're not going to even be able to drink beer. Where you're going. Where you go, they're not going to have beer. Or a vape. Or a marijuana pipe. They're not going to have it where you go. Where you're choosing to go, where you choose to go, they're not going to have any of that. They're going to have nothing. Sorry, you'll have to forgive me.